So I was looking for a video to commentate on when I came across a playlist by Doodle Tones that she calls "I'm Not Getting to All This Material," implying that she either has plans for those videos in the far-off future, or it's a playlist of material she laid out for any commentator struggling to find good material, much like one that Skihound put up. And no, this is not a "I hope Doodle Senpai notices me" video. I already got a senpai to notice me. I almost went with the Melblade 5's response to Watch Mojo's Pokemon movies list, which I found and considered before I found the playlist, by the way, but I wasn't bringing up any real strong arguments that brought forth the potential bigger issues I was clearly missing out on, other than maybe his extremely unnerving frustration at the list, which I get may be played for laughs, but I also get the impression that it was at least somewhat genuine. No, today's video is still extremely flawed. Top 10 Best Dark-type Pokemon by one Skull Shurtugal TCG. I have no problem with this, guys. I do find some of his CinemaSins type videos to be quite entertaining. But this video was... oh, where do I even begin? Wait, the beginning, of course! Well, his rules specifically.
The first rule is that these are only pure Dark-type Pokemon. No dual types allowed, like Weavile.
Well, that's a very limiting choice of options, since, counting evolutionary families as separate Pokemon, you've only got 9 mono Dark types to work with. Wait, you're counting Mega Absol then? That's really stretching it. Can't you at least make it so Pokemon that at least have a primary Dark typing, like Weavile, can make the list as well to make it more interesting? I mean, how are you gonna deal with the flying type list? Number 10 is Tornadus. Number 9 is... be sure to like, share, and subscribe! You could make the argument that it would make his future list predictable, but the addition of primary typed Pokemon can easily prevent the repetition of certain Pokemon, other than flying types, since that's often used as a secondary typing. By the way, good luck keeping that rule for mono rock and steel types. Skipping rule 2 since it's basically saying no Mega Gyarados, Arceus Dark, or Hoopa Unbound.
The best Dark-type Pokemon have to be those that are strong enough to hold their own in a Pokemon battle, while also being able to support their allies during a competitive double battle.
Oh boy, that particular rule will be important later.
Number 10 is Poochyena. The first Pokemon you encounter during your journey in Hoenn is always this sucker. And as many a shiny hunter knows, this is the most common failed shiny Pokemon as well.
Oh. A shiny? A shiny? Are you kidding me? Really?
Hello, Skull? I get the shiny is ball busting, but can you say so? What? Yep, it's later! Poochyena is not a fully evolved Pokemon. I know that very well, but there's absolutely nothing about battle capabilities brought up here. Just that you encounter it early game and it remains the bane of Gen 3 shiny hunters. You'll never catch me, Batman! Nothing about how it can be a good early teammate with its noticeable base physical attack and moves, especially in Oras where Dex Navigate can get you some great egg moves to run with. I get that's only number 10, but unless it's for a quick joke that sums it all up, which the shiny thing doesn't do, these segments really shouldn't be shorter than that one Brony Pody Hater drama video I made / took from a Dinner Warrior YouTube group several years back.
Number 9, Purloin. A Dark-type cat Pokemon can only mean sinister things are afoot. Purloin are often sneaky and manipulative, and usually get exactly what they want. While it has the lowest attack stat of all Dark-type Pokemon, it still finds uses in other areas.
First, it's an early route Pokemon that can evolve. Of course you're not going to get another Scyther situation where it's already so powerful it simply gets a stat redistribution upon evolving. Second, 50 base attack is not god-awful for what Purloin is. Its base special stat is literally no better, and it only learns physical or status moves by level up anyway. Third, I'd ask if you were going to elaborate on what other areas Purloin can be useful in, but the audience should know that's a key sign that you won't. Instead, you briefly discuss its character in the anime, which has no impact on its battling capabilities, and is inconsistent with the unbelievably brief Poochyena segment, so I'm gonna SKIP!
Imagine the terror that goes through its enemies' minds when they see a Mewtwo or a Rayquaza hit the battlefield, never suspecting that it's really just a small fox Pokemon in disguise.
Provided you're gonna bring a friggin' Zora to a battle of legendaries. Not to mention lets the opponent know that you have that Pokemon in your team and can plan accordingly.
Absol gets a bad rap. Numerous Pokédex entries state how it always shows up right before disaster strikes. In the Pokemon games, it's usually found in places where villainous teams are not far behind. But on the bright side, that usually means that having an Absol on your team means certain doom for your opponents. In Unova, Absol appears on Route 13. It's also the final Pokemon to be featured on the Pokemon Trainer's Choice cards that 4Kids used to do. Absol seems to be a very unlucky Pokemon indeed, but maybe that's why it's so loved by so many people. I would be happy to have an Absol on my team anytime because I know, as long as it's with me, I am well protected.
I'm sorry, but am I watching a best Dark types countdown determined partly by battle capabilities? Or did you know Pokemon video about Absol? Save the trivia for after you've given us the relevant information, please.
And our number 6 spot is Liepard. This Pokemon looks almost too graceful to be a Dark-type Pokemon, but like its pre-evolved form, Liepard is a conniving, manipulative
bitch.
Its most useful moves, including Knock Off and Sucker Punch, are the best examples of Dark-type moves out there. Crafty and subtle, Liepard can deal some serious damage. Or, if it's feeling especially pesky, it'll just encore you into using the same move over and over and over again. Give it some black glasses to boost those Dark-type moves even more. Yep, despite its beauty, Liepard is still a Dark-type Pokemon. Not the best, by far not the best, but still worth mentioning.
More worth mentioning than the one that can Mega Evolve, and in base form is statistically better than Liepard in every way save speed and status utility. You finally brought up battle capabilities and you still screwed it up!
Number 5 on this list is Mightyena. There is just one word that best fits this Pokemon. Crunch. A crunch from a Mightyena hits hard. Just look at it. This Pokemon has crunch written all over its face. And where crunch fails, just use a Play Rough or Iron Tail to hit everything else.
You'll need Dex Nav or Breeding for the former, and or as BP move tutors for the latter. Also, Absol hits way harder. It might not get crunch, but it sure gets Night Slash and the ability Super Luck. Crits for days, my boy. Skip!
Send it out looking like a random Poison-type Pokemon, and your opponent will be caught off guard when Psychic doesn't affect it.
Or, you know, they can use any other move and completely destroy Zoroark because it has the durability of a potato chip. Which, aside from Umbreon, is true of a lot of Pokemon on the list.
Number 2, Mega Absol. We have to bend the rules here, because if we counted Mega Absol as just an extension of Absol, we wouldn't have enough pure Dark-type Pokemon in existence to do a top 10.
Just do a top 9. There's no official rulebook on countdowns where it must be a top 10, and you admit that putting Mega Absol in here is a stretch, so why'd you fucking do it? For that matter, you mentioned Sun and Moon could fix that.
Hopefully Pokemon fixes that with Sun and Moon,
like it does for Mono Rock types, so why not wait until then?
Absol gains the usual stat boosts all around the board when it Mega Evolves, but it also grows a pair of wings. When you hear about Dark Pokemon, you usually don't think about Angels, and yet here is one of the most powerful Dark types in existence, and that's exactly what it is. An Angel. But the number 1...
That's it? No mention of the extremely rare and useful Magic Bounce ability? This segment is raising too many questions! And one of those isn't the number 1 segment, as it's easy to guess through process of elimination. Darkrai. Which, to be fair, is one of my favorite legendary... Wait, the legendary tops the list? Really?
Darkrai is the best example of what a Dark-type Pokemon should be.
All Dark types must be overpowered sleep abusers, variety be damned!
Its Dark Void attack is so powerful, it hits all of your opponent's Pokemon, putting them to sleep and rendering them useless.
Provided it actually works on the Pokemon, since there are poison healers out there, as well as Insomniacs, Pokemon with Vital Spirit, and the possibility to miss the Pokemon entirely. Yes, Dark Void is one of the most accurate sleep-inducing moves in the game, but it's hardly perfect.
Darkrai can learn an assortment of moves as well, which place it in the perfect position to combat just about any threat.
Any threat that doesn't outspeed it and or pulls a fighting bug or fairy move on it, especially when facing legendaries where its 70, 90, 90 bulk won't cut it.
Darkrai is so powerful, it's completely banned from all official Pokemon tournaments. It's just too good.
As are all mythical Pokemon, some of which aren't even nearly that overpowered.
Without a doubt, Darkrai is the best Dark-type Pokemon in existence.
Well, it being a legendary Pokemon, that's quite unfair, which makes the list even more egregious. And aside from asking to subscribe, we've reached the end of the video. My god, what a headache of a countdown. The issue wasn't the minimal options making the list a process of elimination, as I've done a few lists like that. The real problem comes in the wildly fluctuating reasonings as to why these Pokemon belonged on the list. The third criteria claims that Pokemon will be judged on their battle capabilities in both singles and doubles format. Yet except for Darkrai due to Dark Void affecting every enemy at once, doubles are never brought up. I never brought up doubles myself because I'm not a doubles battler, I much prefer singles. At least some other commentator who's more open to the idea of double battling has some more material to work with. Even then, some entries had inconsistent explanations, like the anime for the Purloin and maybe Zoro and Zoroark, as well as Puccini's infamous Shiny, neither of which impact their combat capabilities. On top of that, you don't hear these reasonings brought up for some of the other entries, which, if it wasn't seemingly based purely on battle, could have bolstered some slots like Darkrai, Absol, and Zoroark should he have gone into further detail on the latter. Don't even get me started on how much of a stretch it was to isolate Mega Absol from its base form, and how Darkrai dominating this list was a no-brainer purely based on its status as a legendary Pokemon, which is extremely unfair. Like putting Arceus at number 1 of the best normal-type Pokemon. And he never manages to clarify if this is merely his opinion, so the subjectivity of this list is highly dubious. Another Poketuber, Ace Trainer Liam, did a similar list and not only allowed dual-type Pokemon onto it, but he also stayed much more consistent in what he considered good Dark-type Pokemon. That being his personal opinion of their battling capabilities and their design. And since I'm on the topic of recommending Poketubers, since commentary seem to have a knack for making them easy targets, I may as well suggest a few Poketubers that I personally believe won't make you want to stare into the hole in Shedinja's back. provided it actually does work the way the Pokedex says it does. The Aura Guardian is kind of like if Alex if I Hate Everything made a Pokemon channel, just without the excess cynicism. He's funny, visually interesting, well-researched, for the most part, and is even willing to admit to his mistakes and improve from them. The Pokemon Professor has produced some of the most creative and clever Pokemon content you'll ever find. His videos include interesting narratives, extremely subtle satire, and even some blunt satire. Even Poketubers that have been commentated on, like Birdkeeper Toby, True Green 7, and M&J TV Pokevids are all extremely kind individuals who also create visually engaging and often solid content, and for their blunders, have taken the criticism they've received to improve their future videos. One of the last things I want is a Poketuber commentator war, and if one breaks out, I want no part of it. Brother, my... Actually, I wanted to end it there, but I felt it necessary to add this little tidbit. If you're watching this, Skull, know that I'm not trying to enforce my personal video preference onto you. You do things your way, I have no sway in that, nor should I. And if your videos don't appeal to me entirely, I have a plethora of other videos I could be either making or checking out. I'm simply throwing out a few pointers for your future projects since these are some rather big issues I found with this video in particular, and they may irk some of your viewers as well once they notice them. I hope you take this video well and that this won't end up messy. I'm Transformers Fanco328, and I swear the next video is the needlessly delayed Fire Emblem Fates follow-up. Hopefully that'll turn out well.